So today I decided to do something a little bit unusual. I decided to review the U.S. Constitution. I'm on vacation, so I started to look around on my bookcases, and I found the U.S. Constitution and started going with it. I also have a copy of a replica of the original Constitution. I think the original document is just a document for law. I get the law of the land, but not necessarily with its citizens in mind. Hence the addition of the amendments later on. So I'm just going to go over to a few of the what I consider to be the most important amendments. And this is debatable, but I think according to my judgment, these are some of the most impactful or important ones. The First Amendment gives us the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion, the freedom of peaceful assembly, and as I said, the freedom of speech. You could say whatever you want to say, either on public by speech, or via press or television, or like this recording. This is the First Amendment gives me the right to publish this video on YouTube, and I cannot be taken to jail or hanged until I'm dead in the back of my house, something like that. All right. The Second Amendment gives the right to all mental sound U.S. citizen to carry a weapon, a registered weapon, to defend themselves, but primarily defend themselves inside of their houses. I'm saying to mainly protect the properties inside of the house. Doesn't mean that you're going to carry a gun and you're going to be shooting anything that moves around you. I think it's just limited to protecting yourself, protecting loved ones inside of your house. If you, like, somebody breaks in and try to hurt somebody and you have no other choices, then you could use a registered gun to protect yourself. The next one is going to be the Fourth Amendment. This amendment protects you against the government from searching your property, searching your person, and taking your chickens away without probable cause and without a warrant. Okay, so if somebody stops you, the police stops you somewhere, it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, and you could give up this amendment if you don't bring it up. You have to ask the person, whoever it is, if they have a warrant. If they do not have a warrant, they cannot search you. Even if they search you, when you go to court, this is something that you can use to defend yourself, that the seize or search of your properties were done without a probable cause or without a warrant. Even though in a court of law, there's a lot of way to twist and turn these things to give you a probable cause, something that gives the police the excuse of saying, I thought without a doubt that this was needed because I saw X, Y, Z, but under the law, you have the right to be shown a warrant signed by a judge to have your property searched. The next amendment is going to be the Fifth Amendment, which is, I think, follows, I don't know if it follows the Fourth Amendment, and this is the Fifth Amendment. So the Fifth Amendment gives you the right as a citizen to not incriminate yourself. Okay, you don't have to say anything. Even during the trial, you do not have to say anything. When the police come and get you for whatever, do not say anything. You do not have to say anything, and they cannot force anything away from you. The Sixth Amendment is next. The Sixth Amendment protects you as a citizen and guarantees you a quick and fair trial by your peers, with the presence of a lawyer, so they can explain the charges. All of your charges must be explained to you. What is it that you are being charged for? You must be aware of everything before you sign anything, before you do anything, before you say anything, following from the Fourth and the Fifth Amendments. On the Sixth Amendment, you have to make sure that you understand exactly the charges that you are facing and that they are explained to you in plain language by a lawyer of your choosing or appointed by the court, so you know exactly what it is that you're facing before you sign or agree to anything. Next one is the Seventh Amendment. But before I proceed, I want to go over the two areas that this amendment covers. The first one, on a criminal case, the government wants to put you behind the bar for a crime that you committed, most likely lock you up. On a civil trial, a civil case, a civil charge against you, most likely a lawsuit brought to you by another citizen or by a corporation. In these cases, your only money is what a person accusing you is after, and usually doesn't go beyond that. The Seventh Amendment protects you as follows. Once you are convicted of a crime, once the jury comes to a conclusion, comes to a decision on your case, this case cannot be retried again on another court. This is mainly on a civil case. Once it's done, it's done. Once you pay the $20 for throwing a rock at the neighbor's dog, you don't have to be retried again at a different court because the neighbor all of a sudden wants $70 instead of $20. Okay? So that is the Seventh Amendment, protects you from once a case is done, you cannot go through the same case again. The Eighth Amendment protects you from having to pay excessive bail money. For example, when you are convicted of a crime or you are charged with a crime, you have the right to bail. This means that the judge asks you to provide some collateral or proof or good faith that you are going to come back for your trial. This amount should not be like an exorbitant amount of money, like give me $5 billion because you just you got into a fight or you were charged with a small crime. Like the bail amount should be fair. The Eighth Amendment also protects you from cruel and unusual punishment, meaning if you are charged with a small crime like breaking a window or something or breaking into a car, you should not be charged with like 100 years in jail and $5,000 million, for example. Okay, meaning that the punishment should fit the crime. That's what the Eighth Amendment does. The next one is going to be the 13th Amendment. Before I go on with this, I have to say the following, no matter what it costs. This amendment only took hold once the Emancipation Proclamation took hold throughout all the states, okay? When they decided that holding somebody as a slave or for free labor was not right. The Emancipation Proclamation was not something that Abraham Lincoln did out of the goodness of his heart because he loved or cared about blacks. Lincoln only wanted to cripple the South economically by removing the economic engine that sustained the South in the United States for many hundreds of years, and this was the enslavement of black people. So he made it illegal for Confederate states to hold slaves, not because Lincoln wanted black people free roaming around, not because he considered them as equal as he was and as equal as white people, but simply he just wanted the South to lose the wars. It was just a political stunt. It was not It was just that. He also wanted capable black people, men and women, to join the North, join the army, and to fight against the South and cause chaos in the South to allow him to win the war. So that was his main motivation. I am not saying that this is something that is a secret. I don't think this is new. This is like groundbreaking. I know people of law and professors and authors of books know this, but I don't know why they don't say this, and instead are like homage is given to Lincoln for something that he had nothing to do. Okay, so the 13th Amendment is only good once everybody knew, listen man, this is not right. That's when everybody's like, oh, under pressure. Okay, I think we're going to make this happen. I cannot have slaves, but you cannot give them jobs either, and they cannot vote. That was like crazy. But anyway, I digress. Okay. The next one is going to be the 14th Amendment. So once the slaves were let go, were fired, the U.S. did not recognize them as citizens. They were not considered the same as white people, even though they fought. Many of them fought during the Civil War. I think this one piggybacks from the 13th Amendment. So once the Emancipation Proclamation passed, most states, if not all of them, fired their black slaves, let them go, which is insane. Just let them go, but don't give them a job, and don't consider them as equal. Do not let them hold public position or vote or anything like that. The 14th Amendment protects you against the Hague, against the government, from taking your life, your liberty, your property without due process, without following the law of the lands. Okay, that's what it means. They cannot just come in and taking your chickens and taking your liberty, property without going through a due process. Even though during the 13th Amendment, as I said, during the Emancipation Proclamation, when the black people were let go, I call them fired, okay, fired without having a job. They did not have the rights to vote. Okay, the 15th Amendment gives black Americans the right to vote. The next amendment is going to be the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment gives Congress the right to collect income tax from you, regardless of how you obtain that income. If you stole it, if you did whatever, if you sold drugs, if you have to report your income, and you have to pay taxes on that. The next one is going to be the 18th Amendment. This one I simply call it no beer for you, just like that Seinfeld episode No Soup for You. This one is no beer for you. This is prohibition. All intoxicating drinks and substances are not allowed to be consumed, are not allowed to be exported, imported in the U.S. legally, that is. Next one is going to be the 19th Amendment. Women were given the right to vote. I guess men thought, these humans are not just made to be in the kitchen, but they could be trusted with deciding who should be in charge of them. Okay, so the 19th Amendment protects the right of women to vote. 21, the 21st, I don't know, 21st Amendment, kill it. The 18th Amendment, and before the 18th Amendment, remember that it says no beer for you. Now the 21st Amendment said you can drink if you proven to be 18 years or older. Okay, if you're an adult, you can consume, you can do whatever you want. The next one is going to be the 22nd Amendment, and this amendment limits a president to serve only for 2 terms. Okay, we don't have kings here. We don't elect them for lives. So, allows a president to only serve 2 terms, and that's it. He cannot serve again. The next one is going to be the 25th Amendment, and I'm sure you've heard of this during our last presidency of Donald Trump, where many people in Congress wanted to invoke this amendment and get Trump removed in the basis of his incapability of running or performing his duty as the president. So that means if the president, is really ill, loses his mind, or again is deemed incapable of performing his duty of office as the president of the United States, Congress gets together and fires him, gets him out. The 26th Amendment, remember that before only white people were allowed to vote, or had the right to vote. Then women were allowed to vote. Then blacks were allowed to vote. Now the 26th Amendment gives all citizens, all U.S. citizens, age 18 and above, the right to vote, whether they are native here or whether they came later on from another country, they migrated here from another country, became citizen. They have the right to vote. The next is the 27th Amendment. This one is a very interesting one. For example, if I am a senator, for example, I cannot give myself a raise while I'm at the Senate before I am re-elected again. And this is to prevent, for example, if I made, let's say, $100,000 as a senator, and all of a sudden all the senators decide that we're going to give ourselves a raise from $100,000 to $300,000 while serving my term, because we feel that we are not going to be elected next time. So we want to pocket as much money as possible. This is not allowed under the 27th Amendment. And instead, I, as a senator, must wait until the people re-elect me again. Once I am in the Senate again, then the rest of the senators and we can convene and go over what the allowed raise should be, and it's not increased. I think this is why a lot of representative takes so much kickbacks from people behind doors, because they are limited on how much money they can make legally. But illegally, there is no saying on how much they could gain by lobbying, by pushing certain laws that would benefit certain people or company or patents pending that will benefit certain corporations. So these corporations finance Congress and Senate. So once they are in-house, they can own them by giving them unlimited wealth, so they could pass law and interpret law that would benefit them. So these are some of the most important amendments, I think, in my opinion. You could disagree. This is not set in stone. This is just my view. And primarily, I wanted to put this video together, I guess, to share, some of my knowledge. I guess that I read some books, that I read the Constitution, and I understand it a little bit. I guess my main motivation for this video was to help people out there who do not have the motivation or patience to go over the Constitution and its amendments. Give them like a breakdown, a simplistic approach of some of what I consider the most important amendments to the Constitution of the United States and how they protect as citizens of this great country. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave some comments below. Point me to some resources where I could learn more about the Constitution, or where I can go and correct some of the mistakes I made during this presentation. Thank you again for watching this video. My name is Hector. Thanks again.